bermanfaat untuk teman-teman UI yang nantinya mungkin bisa menjadi employee di Bukit Vista ataupun intern juga di Bukit Vista. Gitu.
Amin. Semoga teman-teman di sini mahasiswa UI bisa mendapatkan manfaat dari e-talk-nya Bukit Vista. Terima kasih banyak untuk partisipannya Bukit Vista untuk menjadi narasumber di webinar kami.
Iya, terima kasih Mbak. Kita juga dikasih platform. Terima kasih untuk Kiki. Kebetulan Kiki di sini sudah hadir di sini. Dia pakai yang atas nama saya, jadi nanti dia akan bantu sekalian buat share gitu ya Mbak ya. Halo Mbak Kiki.
Mohon maaf Bu Vika-nya sedang mengisi kuliah dulu nanti.
Oke. Jadi mungkin ini sih Mbak, kalau misalnya buat pre-meetingnya ini kita lebih mau coba buat teknisnya aja seperti apa. Terus nanti ini mungkin saya coba share screen dulu. Nanti ada pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang atau bahasan-bahasan yang akan saya bahas selama talk show-nya. Seperti itu. Mungkin saya share screen lagi ya.
Oke, silakan Mbak Cynthia. Mbak Cynthia, maaf mengulang lagi. Jadi start kita jam 2 ya Mbak ya?
Iya, betul Mbak. Kita jam 2. Nanti mungkin 15 menit sebelum acara kita sudahin dulu. Jadi nanti boleh bisa masuk untuk attendees-attendees-nya. Nanti juga bisa saya tampilkan untuk policies-nya seperti itu. Terus nanti jam 2 tepat kita akan mulai. Gitu.
Oke, siap. Jadi 15 menit sebelumnya, sebelum acara saya terima partisipan ya Mbak ya?
Iya, betul-betul. Oke, jadi buat question-nya. Oke, ini Mbak Dira, saya akan conduct webinar ini dengan mungkin 2 bahasa. Jadi nanti saat pembukaan saya akan menggunakan bahasa Indonesia, tapi saat talk show saya akan menggunakan bahasa Inggris seperti itu. Lalu di akhir nanti untuk summary-nya saya akan menggunakan bahasa Indonesia lagi seperti itu ya Mbak ya.
Oke, siap Mbak. Kita nanti setelah Bu Vika pembukaan, semua saya kasih ke Mbak Cynthia untuk acaranya seperti apa.
Ya, siap-siap. Jadi ini nanti pembukaannya dari Mbak Dira dulu seperti itu atau gimana? Teknisnya dari Mbak?
Nanti dari mungkin langsung aja MC Mbak Cynthia untuk menyambut Bu Vika dulu. Baru nanti lanjutkan dari Bukit Vista untuk selanjutnya seperti itu. Mungkin MC, maksudnya nanti moderator itu langsung Mbak Cynthia aja seperti itu.
Oke, baik Mbak. Nanti berarti saya bisa mulai dulu, lalu saya nanti waktu Bu Vika saya berikan ke Bu Vika gitu ya Mbak ya?
Iya, betul.
Oke, siap.
Terima kasih Mbak.
Ya, sama-sama Mbak Dira. Jadi, for the speakers, hello, good afternoon, guys. I hope you are doing well. And then we will have a BVE talk for the second session for today. Here is the question list. It's still a rough question, and maybe we will dig down and dig deep again during the BVE talk, during the talk show. But mostly it will talk about one that like how are you, and then what do you do during the pandemic, what things you do, and then also I will start with the PV background. So like maybe sir you can explain to us brief about PV transformation, about how did you build PV at the first time, and then your journey, and to Ara as well, to Miss Ara. So how did you join PV at the very first place? You can talk your current encourage the students or maybe like the fresh graduate to join BV in the future. And then also for Mr. Christian, here, since I know that you discovered BP at the very first time from the All Hosts Asia meetup, so maybe you can talk about that at the very first time, and then how did you know BP, and then what did you do in the first place? Like maybe, yeah, Mas Christian nangkep yang saya maksud ya Mas ya?
Nangkap.
Oke. Terus habis itu nanti after that I will continue in the remote working culture. From the remote working culture, I will ask Mas Christian here. Since when did you work at Cloudbeds, and then maybe like would you tell us about how your experience there, and then you have crucial role as well. Then what did you see in the future about the potentially of remote working itself? And then maybe since you're working remotely with your friends, with your team, have you ever felt that you are FOMO or what? And then how you overcome it? It will be great. And then I think for Miss Ara, I have explained it to you before about what you can tell us about, and then I want to know more about how is the process, the new normal in BV you have changed, and then with Jing, you two work together to make a new culture in Bukit Vista, and then also I will like to you guys to demonstrate maybe this is I will give it to Mas Christian and also Jing. If you could help me, you can share, you can introduce what kind of tools that Bukit Vista use here for the remote working. And then also, how do you guys maintain your bond with your team? We can talk about anything we do here. And then maybe Mas Christian in Cloudbeds, you have event that bond with your teammate. It will be great if you share it with us. And then for the conclusion, I'd like to guys to prepare a quote that might be inspire the student, the attendees, the audience. So yeah, they got something take away, and then they maybe feel like more enlightened after they join our webinar. That's the things. Is there anything that do you want to ask, guys?
I'm good, Cynthia.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, Mas Christian?
Yep, all good. All good from
Okay.
me.
Yep, thank you, Mas. Terus, Miss Ara?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's already 1:45, and then I will give it to Mbak Dira. Mbak Dira. Okay, I think Mbak Dira away.
Yes, Mbak.
Ya, Mbak Dira, ini aku udah akan habis ini akan mulai share buat polisisnya seperti itu. Terus mungkin Mbak Dira bisa mulai masukin buat audiensnya ya.
Oke.
Oke, siap.
Ini saya juga IG live ya Mbak di Instagramnya CDC.
Oh, oke.
Jadi bagi yang nggak masuk di
cool.
mana di
Zoom ya.
Jadi bisa mereka langsung di IG live bisa tonton gitu.
Wow, mantap. Oke, Mbak, siap.
Oke, saya masukin semuanya ya Mbak ya.
Ya, silakan.
Aku nanya HP di mana, emang apa?
secara cost juga. Next.
Mau makan dulu apa sholat dulu? Hah? Ini aja ya,
Halo, selamat siang teman-teman. Kita akan mulai pukul 2 seperti itu. Jadi untuk saat ini kita sedang menunggu teman-teman yang lain. Jadi mohon bersabar dulu ya.
Dengan ngebor mengambil air tanah untuk bisa mengakibatkan air bersih menjadi berkurang dan akhirnya itu bisa berdampak terhadap lingkungan.
Halo, untuk audionya mungkin bisa di-join with audio dan komputer ya. Karena tadi emang kita belum mulai, jadi mungkin belum kedengeran. Buat Kak Rafdi Setiawan, apakah bisa dengar suara saya sekarang? Bisa tolong ditulis di chat ya. Bisa ke personal juga. Terima kasih.
Sertip. Iya. Kita kurung kamera. Kurung.
buat sekarang. Hah? Pakai klik BCA. Kirain kemarin
Halo, selamat siang semuanya. Oke, jadi terima kasih sudah bergabung bersama kami siang hari ini. Karena ini sudah jam 2, jadi mungkin bisa kita mulai untuk BVI Talk-nya seperti itu. Baik, jadi untuk BVI Talk kali ini, saya mau disclaimer dulu, kita akan conduct dengan 2 bahasa. Yang pertama adalah bahasa Indonesia, lalu selama talk show nanti, kita akan conduct dengan bahasa Inggris, seperti itu. Oke, baik, mungkin tidak perlu berlama-lama lagi sambil menunggu teman-teman yang bergabung, seperti itu. Saya mengucapkan selamat datang dan terima kasih untuk waktunya telah bergabung di BVI Talk yang kedua. Jadi untuk kali ini kebetulan BVI Talk kita yang kedua buat yang pertama. Mungkin bisa dicek di YouTube kami di Bukit Vista, ya, bisa di-search dengan keyword BVI Talk. Untuk topik yang pertama dulu, talking tentang customer experience. Lalu yang untuk BVI Talk kali ini, kita akan berbicara tentang remote working culture. Jadi nanti kita akan perkenalkan tentang culture remote working yang ada di Bukit Vista maupun perusahaan-perusahaan yang menggunakan sistem remote working juga selama kerjanya. So, jadi ini untuk teman-teman yang baru datang, selamat datang. Terima kasih juga telah bergabung. Seperti itu. Untuk selanjutnya, mungkin nanti sebelum kita masuk ke talk show-nya, kita akan ada sesi dulu dari CDC UI. Jadi mungkin untuk Mbak Dira. Mbak Dira.
Selamat siang semuanya.
Mbak Dira.
Gimana Mbak Cynthia?
Iya Mbak, saya lupa, saya belum perkenalan ke teman-teman semua. Nanti saya takut teman-teman wondering, ini siapa nih yang bicara? Jadi baik, teman-teman, perkenalkan, nama saya Cynthia. Saya online support di Bukit Vista. Mungkin juga teman-teman lebih mengenalnya dengan customer service, customer experience yang ada di Bukit Vista. Jadi di sini kebetulan saya akan memoderatori acara hari ini. Semoga webinar kali ini, BVI Talk kali ini membawa manfaat untuk teman-teman semua dan nantinya akan ada juga peluang-peluang internship maupun pekerjaan yang mungkin teman-teman tertarik, nanti bisa langsung bertanya saja, nanti kita akan kirimkan untuk detailnya setelah webinar ini selesai, seperti itu. Lalu untuk sesi yang pertama ini, kita akan mulai dulu dari sambutan dari UI. Silahkan Mbak Dira, saya berikan waktu dan tempatnya.
Ya. Sambutan kali ini oleh Ibu Sandra Fitriawati selaku Kasubdit Pemagangan dan Perdagangan Industri, dan beliau adalah Kepala Karir Development Center Universitas Indonesia. Silakan Ibu Fika, tempat dan waktu dipersilakan.
Ya, baik, terima kasih Mbak Dira, Mbak Cynthia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang semuanya. Saya yakin di sini banyak para lulusan dan mahasiswa bertemu di sini. Bukit Vista, terima kasih banyak atas kerjasamanya ini. Di sini saya Mr. Jing Cho Yang dari Bukit Vista, kemudian Mr. Christian dari Market Manager of Cloudbeds, dan Karisma Ara Fani, HR dari Bukit Vista. Terima kasih atas kerjasama ini. Kami terus terang menyambut gembira acara-acara seperti ini, karena Career Development Center Universitas Indonesia itu berusaha untuk meningkatkan ya wawasan dari para lulusan dan juga mahasiswanya untuk menghadapi dunia kerja. Apalagi sekarang dengan situasi pandemi seperti ini, tentu culture atau budaya dari bekerja itu berbeda. Jadi saya senang sekali nih Bukit Vista mengenalkan kepada para lulusan dan mahasiswa kami mengenai culture yang baru ini. Semoga mereka nanti pada saat terjun sudah terbiasa dan juga dengan terbiasa itu akan sudah familiar ya dengan budaya-budaya yang ada, sehingga lulusan dan mahasiswa UI ikuti suasana bekerjanya dengan lebih santai dan juga tetap memiliki budaya yang baik. Mungkin sebelum dimulai, boleh saya sedikit sharing mengenai CDC UI dan direktorat kami ya Bu ya, supaya para lulusan dan mahasiswa ini sedikit mengenal juga yang belum kenal ya, mudah-mudahan sih semua sudah kenal dengan kegiatan dari direktorat kami.
Silakan Ibu Fika.
Kita bisa tampilkan. Dira?
Karena gini loh, coba kasih tagnya desain grafis ataupun lagi desain apa.
Ya, bisa di awal. Oh, Dira. Ya. Oke, jadi kami Career Development Center Universitas Indonesia itu berada di bawah Direktorat Pengembangan Karir Lulusan dan Hubungan ya, yang tugas utamanya itu adalah, silakan Dira. Boleh. Bisa terdengar?
Bisa Bu.
Dengar Bu.
Silakan.
Ya. Baik, Career Development Center Universitas Indonesia itu berada di bawah Direktorat Pengembangan Karir Lulusan dan Hubungan Alumni. Jadi tugas kami di sini adalah untuk mengenalkan ya kepada calon lulusan dan alumni baru kegiatan-kegiatan yang berhubungan dengan pekerjaan. Kemudian selain itu juga dengan melanjutkan studi dan juga saat ini ada mengenai berwirausaha. Jadi di sini juga kami di bawah direktorat ini ada yang disebut dengan tracer study ya. Jadi apabila nanti lulusan ya berhubungan dengan kuesioner tracer study itu adalah dari direktorat ini. Jadi selain Career Development Center ada tracer study dan juga sebenarnya termasuk adalah pengumpulan dana abadi untuk kegiatan-kegiatan di Universitas Indonesia. Baik, lanjut. Sama sekali ya. Bisa lanjut? Ya, di sini ada sebelumnya. Ya, di sini juga ada beberapa sosial media dari DPKH UI. Jadi memang karena di sini kemarin tuh baru ada rektor baru dan kami juga memiliki susunan kepemimpinan pengurusan yang berbeda. Jadi ini kami membangun kembali ya, walaupun ada beberapa yang sudah lama. Nah, kami berharap para mahasiswa dan alumni UI bisa ikut memfollow dari medsos kami agar informasi-informasi yang kami sampaikan itu bisa langsung diterima oleh para lulusan sehingga membantu para lulusan ini juga pada mahasiswa untuk memasuki dunia kerja. Jadi jangan lupa ini medsosnya dan juga jenis-jenisnya kalian bisa lihat, terutama di sini adalah yang berkaitan dengan kegiatan di PKHA. Jadi seperti tadi saya sampaikan ada career center ya, ada kegiatan-kegiatan yang berhubungan dengan alumni, misalnya dana abadi, kemudian juga ada tentang tracer study ya. Jadi ini yang kalian saya berharap para mahasiswa dan lulusan bisa ikut serta, dan kita juga sekarang sudah memiliki YouTube sehingga semua kegiatan-kegiatan itu yang masih terlambat gitu ya bisa ikut, itu bisa tetap mengikutinya. Nah, itu yang saya harapkan para lulusan itu bisa selalu berkontak dengan Universitas Indonesia walaupun sudah lulus ya atau sudah jauh dari kampus. Mungkin itu saja yang akan saya sampaikan. Semoga kegiatan seminar ini bisa bermanfaat untuk semuanya. Saya melihat sudah cukup banyak yang mendaftar dan yang ikut ya, sudah hampir 300 orang ya. Mudah-mudahan ini membuat lulusan kami itu menjadi lebih baik lagi di dunia kerja, dan saya berharap bahwa mitra UI dalam hal ini Bukit Vista juga bisa menyampaikan program-program yang ada yang tersedia. Saya tahu ada magang juga ya di Bukit Vista, dan mungkin juga nanti kalau ada rekrutmen ya mohon diinformasikan kepada kami sehingga para lulusan kami juga bisa terlibat di Bukit Vista. Mungkin juga nanti mengenal lebih dalam apa saja kegiatan-kegiatan dari Bukit Vista. Mungkin itu saja yang bisa saya sampaikan. Terima kasih sekali lagi atas kehadirannya. Saya mohon maaf apabila kami masih ada beberapa mungkin keterlambatan atau hal-hal yang tidak berkenan ya. Tapi kami berharap mudah-mudahan hubungan ini tetap selalu baik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Baik, terima kasih Ibu Vika untuk sambutannya seperti itu. Oh ya, selamat datang Ibu dan selamat bergabung. Semoga nanti Ibu juga menikmati BVI Talk dari kami ya.
Terima kasih ya.
Ya, oke. Mbak Dira, bisa saya mulai atau ada tadi dari pihak UI?
Silakan.
Silakan Mbak.
Boleh.
Baik, terima kasih untuk Ibu Vika dan untuk Mbak Dira. Dan sebelumnya saya ingatkan lagi untuk teman-teman semua selama sesi BVI Talk ini, silahkan untuk mematikan mikrofon dan juga videonya seperti itu untuk kenyamanan bersama sehingga nanti tidak ada suara tumpang tindih. Dan juga untuk selama proses BVI Talk ini, kami akan menggunakan Slido untuk pertanyaannya. Baik, saya bisa share screen dulu ya untuk Slido-nya, jadi teman-teman nanti bisa mengakses seperti itu. Baik, jadi ini sudah ada pertanyaan yang masuk. Seperti itu, teman-teman bisa langsung mengakses dengan membuka slido.com. Untuk slido.com, lalu nanti di sana bisa memasukkan kode eventnya, yaitu BV Cross UI. Jadi nanti pertanyaan teman-teman akan muncul di sini. Jadi nanti kita bisa tahu di sesi tanya jawab nanti pertanyaan mana yang akan kita tanyakan lebih lanjut dengan mentor-mentor dan dengan speaker-speaker yang ada di sini, seperti itu. Jadi seperti yang sudah saya sampaikan tadi sebelumnya, mungkin untuk teman-teman yang baru saja bergabung, kita akan conduct webinar ini dengan 2 bahasa. Untuk sesi talk show kita akan conduct dengan bahasa Inggris. Jadi selamat bergabung sekali lagi untuk teman-teman. Saya lihat jumlahnya sudah bertambah lagi dan saya rasa let's begin our PVE talk today. Okay, so welcome to PVE talk session 2. I welcome to Mr. Jing Cho Yang.
Hello.
Hi, sir.
Hi, Cynthia. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Saya bagus juga. Assalamualaikum.
Great, thank you, sir. And then for the next is Mr. Miss Ara Fani. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Really nice to see you today here.
Really nice to see you, Miss Ara. And then next is Mr. Christian. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone. Welcome to BV Talk for today. Hopefully, it will be beneficial for everyone.
Yep, hopefully as well. And then I think we should start our BV Talk today. So, there is a quote in Indonesia, tak kenal maka tak sayang. So I think I will let you guys to introduce yourself, and then maybe you can share what is you're doing during the pandemic. Like, are you doing well? And then, yeah, I know it's a hard time for us, right? And I will start it to Mr. Jing first. So, sir, how are you? Please tell us about what you're doing during this pandemic, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Cynthia. And terima kasih pada semua di UI bisa gabung hari ini dengan Bukit Vista. So, walaupun saya udah 15 tahun di Indonesia, saya masih merasa lebih gampang kalau pakai bahasa Inggris. So, maaf. Dengan ini juga saya mau mungkin menerangkan dengan lebih jelas, ya. So, I think it's a good question, Cynthia. It's been a very transformational 4 months since March. We've had our company now for about 6 years, and during this time, I think this is the biggest challenge that I've ever faced, as not just as let's say a leader of a company, but as just a person. I think the world. I was always wondering if I would ever see a kind of like, you watch movies and you see that the world's going to change one day. And throughout my entire life, I grew up, I guess, I was born in California and I grew up there. And I didn't believe that something like this could ever happen. But now that it is, I could say that it is life-changing. But I think the focus of what we will talk about, and one of the themes besides remote work, is this idea of transformation, of how I think a crisis can actually transform people for the better, and the power of transformation to improve your life. So I think along with the rest of my company, we've been transforming positively for the most part. And yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I was born in California. I came to Indonesia 15 years ago, and I live in Bali now. It's happily ever after. That's the shortest intro I can get. Back to Cynthia.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's very interesting. Yeah, you're right. And then this is a very hard time also as well. And then, maybe for Mr. Christian, do you feel the same way like Jing felt, or what do you do during this pandemic? Would you please share it before we enter to the topic?
Sure, of course. So, yes, basically, I think speaking on a personal level, there are changes in the way that we live our daily lives nowadays, right? Because As you all know, our government is putting out regulations now to protect all of us. So we need to by these rules, and of course, and it goes to something like self-home, keeping yourself clean, hygienic, and maintaining a distance between other people. So I think that's one of the biggest changes that we feel at this moment. And of course, there are other factors that we can see all around us. Coming from a professional level, Cloudbeds, the company that I work for, and we are a partner to Bukit Vista. We have actually been a remote company for the pandemic. So in terms of professional work life, there's difference nowadays. I can tell you that. But yeah, and I guess also a little bit about myself. Yes, my background was in economics. I actually went to school for primary school and high school. I went to with my parents to Australia, and then we came back to Indonesia. And I finished my university degree in Manado, and now I'm working for actually a US company called Cloudbeds. So yeah, I'm based in Bali too, by the way. Same with Mr. Jing here. So thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Christian, for such an introduction. So guys, maybe if you haven't known, at the first time who speak is Mr. Jing. Mr. Jing is our CEO in Bukit Vista, and then who is it, our speaker, Mr. Christian. And now, since we already know from the also Mr. Christian, and I think we also have one more speaker. Here is Mrs. Ara Fani. She is our HR, and maybe you can tell us about yourself, Miss Ara.
Okay, thank you, Sia. So a little bit greetings from me. Hi, everyone. As stated, my name is Ara. And then, yes, I'm currently working as human resource in Bukit Vista. So looking at, zooming out a little bit on a bigger pictures, I think this pandemic time have been giving us a great impact, both in professionals and also in personal life. But at some point, among all of those things that is happening right now, I see it actually we can take good positive takeaways from what's currently going on in the world. So if you like to see it in a sad things, maybe it can be like considered, okay, we're not allowed to go a lot, as in we're still having the physical distancing. But another things, if you're looking at the positive part, I would say this is the best time for all of us to actually transform ourselves to become a better one, because I have more time to transform ourselves to like value to ourselves, using the more free times to do what you always wanted but you don't have time previously. So for me, so far, I've been reading a lot about a lot of things, about human resource, about social life. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing this pandemic time.
That's very cool, Mrs. Ara. Miss Ara, sorry. So, well, yeah, I do agree with Miss Ara. Maybe you guys join this PVE talk is to adding value to yourself, and we hope that we can bring that value. Okay, so I think that's enough for the introduction. So I will come to the topic. So like we already know, we'll start with you since Miss Ara here. Miss Ara, where do you first know about Bukit Vista? And then maybe here everyone wondering, what is Bukit Vista? How can I join that things? And then what the kind of company is it? And would you please like tell us about your journey, like your first time at Bukit Vista, and then until now you have made a great step here. Please, Miss Ara.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Bukit Vista itself, we're a property management that currently have been managing a lot of properties, hundreds of properties in different regions in Indonesia. So the first times that I know about Bukit Vista was when I was in college, when I'm taking tourism studies in Universitas Gajah Mada. So that time there was like the first times Bukit Vista have seminar in my faculty. So at the times, it was like almost like 2 years ago. I got interested because Bukit Vista itself, with the culture and then how the people are interacting with one another, and then the vision and mission of the company is actually aligned with what is I'm passionate about. So in that sense, I applied for internships program. So I started as an intern here for a 3 months internships program, and then actually interested and offered to become joining the teams as a full time, and I decided to. So back then when I was a interns, actually I was an intern the same positions as Cynthia. So it was like a customer support for specifically Nusa Penida Island. That was really fascinating place. I really like to dealing with people, so I was really passionate about what I was doing. But then I think Mr. Jing saw potential in me to actually start a new divisions like in human resource. So I would say yes, I was the first person that is starting doing a human resource in the company. So in that sense, I started to develop myself like a lot. I have so big growth, personal growth regarding a personal or professional in terms of professional as when I started as an intern, and now I'm started to actually become one of the human resource. So what I haven't changed my mind since my day one in Bukit Vista. When I'm new until like now I'm one of the seniors in Bukit Vista is that how people are being so supportive, how in the companies that so positive among the others. So we're really supporting people that really want and seek growth in the company. So in that sense, what I really like about the company so far. And this is also like a positive things for all of the here. Actually, if you like to seek or like finding yourself, develop yourself and grow yourself to become a better way, positive part, I think Bukit Vista is a perfect place for you to actually support your personal growth. So yeah.
Okay, that's really cool, Miss Ara. So you have a career path here. You make it from the intern and until now you are an HR here. Okay, but here, everyone here maybe know that you're already here, but maybe they're also wondering what is the history background of Bukit Vista itself. So I think so. Would you please like tell us about what is the first place when you built this Vista, and then what makes you until now? I mean, like you are still here even in the pandemic, and we are still thriving and developing. Yeah, share your stories.
Sure, I'd be happy to, Cynthia. So the story of Bukit Vista, I think, begins with personal transformation. So when I would say like my first experience of personal transformation happened when it was at a very similar time to where I think a lot of students are experiencing today. So I graduated in what was the worst recessions around the year 2000. So I came out of UC Berkeley with a degree in electrical engineering and science, which is supposedly pretty good. It's like where if you come out from UE, you'll have this really great degree. But surprisingly, after I graduated, there were no jobs, there were no meaningful jobs. So I found, okay, well, I kind of have to find something else to do. So I became an entrepreneur, which at that point means that you're unemployed and you don't have a job. So I started looking for opportunities, and my first discovery, I could go to companies that had gone bankrupt. I could buy their furniture or their computers, and I could resell these things online. And I made a little bit of money, and I was able to travel to Indonesia. And that's where my second transformation happened. And I would say the first transformation was made out of business, but the second transformation was out of love. I met my wife. I met her on the very last minute. I was about to leave the country. It was about 1 hour before my flight back to the US. And I walked into an art shop, and my wife.
Hello, sir. Oh, I think Mr. Jing has a problem here. Okay, while waiting about Mr. Jing to come back to us, I think I'd like to give the information to you guys. Please, if you have any question, please submit it to Slido. It could be slide.do with the code event that I have entered. Okay, sir, could you hear me? Okay, I think we'll lose you, sir. Okay, I think Mr. Jing will come back to us. So, yep, while waiting, he come back to us. Please, you can start to submit your question. I have seen several questions here, and then yeah, if you are wondering what is PVE Talk in the first place, you can also go to YouTube and then you can search about PVE Talk. Oh, maybe Mr. Christian, since you're here, I will talk to you first then, Mr. Christian. So,
Sure.
yeah, would you please like
Mr. Jing is back.
Oh yeah? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, the man of the time. Hello, sir.
Sorry about that. For some reason, I think the internet cut out. Was everyone still here?
Yeah, everyone's
Okay.
still here and we're waiting for your love story, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So, okay, to continue, thank you for bearing with me. Sometimes technical problems happen. So the very next thing I did was I worked in I was working in the property market here in Bali. And during that time, there was, I took a job and it was for commission only. So basically that meant that I would not really receive a salary unless I sold something. And I didn't sell anything, but I fell in love with this idea of property in paradise. So the workplace I was in, we had luxury villas on the cliffside, and some of the people I met, I would never believe people like that existed. Some of the people I met were upper level executives, and they wouldn't necessarily buy a villa from me, but they would teach me things that I didn't know about before. They would teach me how business works. They would teach me how the real world actual business is being done. And so my previous experience was, selling things that are worth maybe a few $100s, but these people are selling things worth millions of dollars. So that was actually a very enlightening experience. So eventually, after working for a while, I got the opportunity to work at a startup company that had just gotten started in Indonesia. And that startup company, probably everyone has heard of today, it was Airbnb. So Airbnb was looking for somebody in Indonesia who had a technical and a event background. I happened to be very, very lucky, but they still had to check. They double checked 12 times and they interviewed me 12 times just to make sure I was the right person. So I work at Airbnb. It's my dream job. It's where I've always wanted to be. It's where everything is coming together. There's so much growth. You're in this fast-paced world. And what was really exciting is it was a place where you could see the future before the future happened. But lo and behold, I made some mistakes and I got fired from my dream job. So that was utterly crushing. And I thought that was the end of the world. I thought that was it. That was all I really wanted to do. And I didn't get a chance to do it. And I felt like I failed. But I realized that was once again the next transformation. And the next transformation was, all right, now that I've seen how it's done, I've been an entrepreneur before, and I thought, okay, let's be an entrepreneur again. So I got together with my wife and we started working on how to start a new business based on things that we had learned about property and based on the knowledge and the understanding that I had gotten from Airbnb. So that was Bukit Vista. But that was actually the second time we started Bukit Vista because the first few times didn't work out. But anyway, that was the beginning of the company. And throughout these past 6 years, it's been really, really exciting. We've had a lot of growth. We started with one property. And at peak, we had about 180. Now, after Corona, it's a little bit down. It's probably 150. At peak, we were doing something close to 100 bookings a day, 110 sometimes. We'd expected we would get to 200 bookings in July, but now it's really quiet still. So that's the story of myself and personal transformation about the company. And during the time we've had Bukit Vista, it's just been really, really, I think, an incredible growth experience in terms of understanding people better, understanding technology better, understanding the way business works, but really, really seeing the power of how people can transform. And not just myself, but like everybody, I think that a lot of the people I've worked with have been positively transformed through the work that we do here at Bukit Vista. So that's a little bit of the story of the company.
Wow, that's very inspirational, sir. I hope that because fail is not make you stop, but it makes you keep going and it becomes your fuel, right? And then, okay, I think that's very inspirational story background about Bukit Vista. So I think for you guys who are wondering what is Bukit Vista, I think it's pretty clear for Mr. Jing to give you such a good inspirational answer. So here is it. I will come to the next speaker. This is Mr. Christian Sanetti. Okay, Mr. Christian, at the very first place, I actually wondering how did you come to Bukit Vista, because you are coming for Cloudbeds, that how did you know about Bukit Vista, and then maybe you can add more what things that made you interested to be partner with Bukit Vista and also maybe join our event. Please, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Cynthia. Okay, so I have, being in Bali, it's hard not to know about Bukit Vista. So even before my current company, Cloudbeds, working in the hospitality industry also, you will hear about Bukit Vista. So I had known about this company before I was in my current company at the moment. But our actual formal sort of introduction was actually when Mr. Jing booked a demo, basically, or a meeting or an online demo through, I think that was the app. What was the other app? Was it Whereby? I don't remember.
Whereby,
yes,
that's right.
That was the app. So we met virtually, first time. And of course, so between Cloudbeds and Bukit Vista, you could say that we have like a supplier and user sort of relationship. So if anyone has ever heard of Cloudbeds, we are a software provider. We provide with companies like Bukit Vista the tools to sort of help manage their different properties, right? You know, you guys can look, Google us, cloudbeds.com, just like you could Google Bukit Vista as well. But basically, that's when I first met Mr. Jing. And that's how I got to know more about Bukit Vista as well. You know, we talked, and I think what made me sort of interested and also like, you know, having myself still in a sort of relationship with Bukit Vista is the people, I would say. I'm sure everyone here can tell, you know, the very lively and friendly character and also persona that comes out of everyone at Bukit Vista, such as Mr. Jing himself. You could see what kind of character he is. A very pleasant character or person that you could talk to. Very easy to talk to as well. So I think that's one of the things that keeps me sort of, you know, coming back and enjoying always the interactions with Bukit Vista and happy to help them in any way possible. So yeah, I think Bukit Vista is, you know, as Mr. Jing has explained before, you know, have been thriving in Indonesia, in Bali more specifically, and also maybe also other parts of Indonesia. But yeah, I guess that would be my answer to your question, Cynthia. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very delightful answer, Mr. Christian, because we are here to inspire delight every time, everywhere, and for everyone. that is our vision and mission actually. Okay, so Mr. Christian, since you are here, since we will talking about remote working here, you mentioned that you all work at Cloudbeds, right? So you can tell us maybe more about your experience and maybe how did you start your work at Cloudbeds and then you working remotely? Please tell me about it. We are curious about that.
Sure, I'll be happy to. So when I finished university, I was just like any other job seeker, right? looking for jobs, trying my best to, you know, to create a good impression on employers, you know, applying left and right, sending CVs to every company that I could see or I can find. But I actually, I would say my first opportunity, or my first real opportunity, came from one of the national banks in Indonesia. So I started my career there. I started as a banker, actually. And I spent around, was 5 years in that sector, in the Indonesian National Bank. So you can imagine being in a sort of Indonesian National Bank, everything, the structure is very formal. Everyday organizational structure is very formal. There's no such thing. We never even heard of the word remote working. So it's very, you know, office-like sort of lifestyle. So you would show up every day at a certain time. You could, you know, sign in with your fingerprint, and then check out once your boss checks out, right? Once your boss finishes work, and then you can go home, basically. So it was that was the sort of culture that we had back then, and that's all that I knew at that time. But then I think also there were, again, like Mr. Jing, and also anyone, I believe there will be transformations in your life. There will be certain things that happen throughout your lifetime that will kind of maybe sometimes shift your way of thinking and what you are looking for ahead, you know, in the future. And that happened to me, obviously. So I moved from the banking sector still to a financial sector company, but it's more focused towards technology. So I moved to a payment gateway company. So this is a company that would process your online transactions. For example, if any of you shop online on Tokopedia or you know, any sort of e-commerce websites, and when you enter any sort of payment details with your credit cards, debit cards, or bank transfer, that is processed by a separate company, and that was our company back then also. So I worked for them, and I moved, and this was basically in the sales department, right? So my job was to approach different clients or potential clients, and that was in Bali. And then from there, I moved again, I think because the opportunity arose at the moment, and I moved to, at that time, and then I moved to a technology company still, but now it's more focused towards hospitality. So this company was sort of like an aggregator or a marketplace for different for properties, you know, all over the world. It was actually a global company as well. And then not long after that, you may think that I get bored easily. That may be the case. But yeah, that was the last company before I moved to Cloudbeds. Again, the opportunity arose. I actually applied for this position through their website. So I was actively looking for another opportunity, and I found an opening on the Cloudbeds website, and then I just applied, followed their online procedure. And you know, I'm here right now speaking to you as an employee of Cloudbeds. And what Cloudbeds is basically, first and foremost, we are a remote company before anything else. So one of our mottos, or one of our sort of principle, is remote first. As I said before, this company is actually a US-based company. We have offices. We only have 3 physical offices around the world: in San Francisco, in Brazil, and also in Dublin in Ireland. But almost around 80% of our workforce are not in those offices. We're working from home. We're working from coffee shops. We're working from, what do you call them? Co-working spaces. I haven't been in one for so long, so I forgot the name. So just anywhere where there's internet. And I think that's one of the most key and important things to have in a remote working situation is to have really good internet, right? Just as what we're doing now is we're talking through the internet. So I think yes, and that's the first and foremost sort of idea of Cloudbeds is we're a remote company, but we also provide other companies or even properties with software, or we're a technology company in that sense that does that, right? And yeah, Cloudbeds has been a remote company ever since we actually started in 2012. And I can tell you that the first time I heard of this concept, I was amazed. You know, like, what is this? What kind? Will this even work? You know, like that was the question that always sprung up in my mind in the beginning. But one of the amazing things that this company, or I believe any other remote company, will do is they have a structure and they have a system in place that will let everything run by itself. So if any of you gets the opportunity to intern at Bukit Vista, you'll probably see a similar system happening there as well. But I think that's the most important thing, is that a system is in place. The organizational structure will then come following that. So yeah, I guess that's, and I don't want to talk for too long, take up everyone's time, but I believe that that would give you a better idea of how what Cloudbeds does and works. If you want to go into specifics, do let me know.
Well, yeah, that is really cool, Mr. Christian, but I think you spill out the tea here. Yep,
Yeah.
actually we will talk about the internship later, but actually it should be a surprise. But since you already mentioned it, then I think it's okay. Then I will give it the floor to Miss Ara Fani. Thank you, Mr. Christian. That's very clear and give us more directful what is kind of remote working itself. And then since you mentioned about the intern in Bukit Vista, yes, you're right. You can experience it, but I think I will give it to the Miss Ara because she knows it better. Okay, we will talk more about challenge later, but yeah, to Miss Ara. Miss Ara, as we know that Cloudbeds is already a remote working company, but in Bukit Vista, we're still wondering, is Bukit Vista a hybrid company or a remote working company, or maybe there is a transformation from the tap to shoulder to the remote working. So as this new normal, I know that you work together with Jing. So would you please tell us about the transformation that you made in Bukit Vista?
Okay. So yeah, this is actually exciting topics, I believe, for not just me, not just the speakers, but for everyone, because this is a new things for all of us actually, except maybe Mr. Christians. Since 2012, Cloudbeds been like infant in that. So for Bukit Vista, I would say yes, this is considered very new because previously we're working physically at the office, both in Bali and in Jogja. But since this pandemic, we have to work remotely. There are a lot of obstacles, of course, challenge for me as an HR or even to everyone impacted, to anyone in the company. So for me, what I was trying to figure out is that exactly that we used to have this culture that tapping people on shoulder, just as easy as that to actually communicate or like having the same context on discussing about stuffs, and then now it is not really possible. So as an HR, what I've been so concerned is that because I know that people are still new about it, and I would say no one in the company is actually expert in that. So the challenge is that how to actually adjust to that type of culture from actually working physically at the office and transform to fully remote working. So the things that I did, as in, I know that maybe not everyone is expert in this part, is that I tried to connect with professionals across the globe that actually already expert in remote working. And so I connected with people on LinkedIn, and actually one of them is Mr. Christians. So I met him back in November. It was in our November event, and I remember that he mentioned about having like remote working full entirely to actually doing the work. So then I connected with professionals, and then like having sessions like this, like actually on air, on Zoom, on whereby to actually seeking guidance on how exactly do I or do you actually create a remote working culture. So in that sense that I started to slowly getting the ideas on what to activate first, starting from the culture, remote working culture itself. Yeah, it was like a lot of things that I did. One of them is that redefined workflow. So as you see that previously we have meetings like directly, but now we're like online, everything is directed online. So other than that, redefining workflow is basically about also designing leaderships. Like right now, like the current focus is that how exactly we lead a team that is actually entirely remote. So in that sense, there's a lot of things that has changed. Yes, the challenge is that, yes, pretty much about the culture, as in, you know, we have a lot of culture, like as simple as like lunchtime. We used to have like sit together, everyone in the company to have lunch together. And now we're just like, you know, like everybody's in the home. But that's part of the innovations in the company, that we're actually conducting lunch hours online. So yeah, that's one of the things.
Wow, yeah, that is our HR that has talking, and then she also already bring the lunchtime. Maybe guys, you can give that as your inspiration when you're dating, but you're in a LDR right now. You can do that with your boyfriend or girlfriend, right? And then, thank you, Miss Ada, for the things. Okay. So I think I will ask to Mr. Jing. Mr. Jing, as Ara told us about the challenge, and also there is a changes culture. How did you see these things as a leader? What is the challenge on your side? Do you share the same idea with Miss Ara, or maybe you disagree with Ara, or maybe you want to add some more? Please, the floor is yours. Okay, Mr. Jing. Oh, well, okay, guys. I think while waiting, Mr. Jing, I'd like to keep reminding you to submit your question. I saw your question here already, yeah, several, and I think you are really interested to have an internship program here. No worries, we will talk about that things later. And then if you also heard about Wordby or maybe another tools, our team, our speakers here will demonstrate it to you. So I think you can give a more insight about remote working. Oh, hi, sir. You come back. Oh, you are muted. Sir, you are muted. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Cynthia. Sorry, I must be giving you a hard time as a moderator today. So I'm using a new device today, so maybe that's part of the connection. But thank you for giving the opportunity to speak again. And in relation to what Ara and Christian have to say about, like, from a leadership perspective, about how remote work culture affects the way that we lead and the way that we see vision. First, to give credit where credit is due, I'm actually quite inspired by what Christian just said. When we had to transition after COVID and everyone was locked down to a work from home culture, I was wondering the same things that Christian just mentioned. Is this actually possible? Can you actually have an effective organization where everyone is participating in a remote way? And Christian was actually very, very generous in, I think, sharing a lot of insights and a lot of the tools that he was using, and mostly about this idea of workflow. I remember we chatted for almost like more than an hour about how to sort of integrate workflows and using particular tools like Slack to create that integration. So what we did afterwards was, as Ara mentioned, we sought for a lot of guidance. We knew that we were going to go into this particular transformation, and we know that as leaders, if we don't pick the right choice, this can result in a lot of confusion and quite a lot of dissatisfaction with the people we're leading. So we went through and we approached multiple people, and we found out that this is actually pretty incredible. The journey, the process of discovering the how to actually remote work was part of remote working. We sort of came up with this idea of, all right, we can actually go and create a remote mentorship program. We can reach out on LinkedIn, find people who have had a lot of experience remote working, and we can ask them, how did you build your systems? So we took a lot of inspiration from there. I think one of the best parts of remote working is that it's actually very suitable to the way the world is structured right now. Meaning that when we have people show up to work, when we have that situation that Christian was just talking about, where he has to go home or he has to go home after his boss at a bank, is that actually work, or is that like part of just a culture from an earlier time? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized, and the more we started experiencing remote work personally as a company, I thought remote work actually should be the first thing you do as a company. And the reason why I thought that was, as we were doing this transformation from an office culture to a remote work culture, we started needing to get processes correct. We started needing to ask ourselves, is our communication strategy correct? And a lot of times as a leader, you can feel satisfied, falsely satisfied that, hey, it looks like everyone's here at the office today, so that means everything's working fine. But in fact, you start realizing that's not the case. Bodies in the room does not necessarily mean that progress is being made. And that can disguise and camouflage as actual real work. So when we started doing remote work, we started changing everything. We started asking ourselves, are we actually getting the results that we want? And are we monitoring the right results? And are we communicating and being understood correctly? And is there evidence of that communication? So once you start getting a remote work culture, you realize that it starts creating a lot of documentation. And that's the first struggle. It creates so much documentation. You have so much data now from all the plans and everything that you do, because no longer can you actually just say a voice conversation is good enough. Like, I've just talked to you about it. I've tapped you on the shoulder, I told you about it. So then you have the second phase, which is now how do you create a more focused way of communicating? You have this sort of overload of messages passing forth on WhatsApp and on email and all over the place, and you need structure. So then that forces structure to happen. That forces, like, as leaders to, all right, how am I going to structure things? So when we talked to Christian from Cloudbeds, he had a very interesting go-to spot. He said it was all organized through Slack. And then we had our own sort of epiphany. We had our own inspiration. We started using a project management tool called Trello. And we could organize everything through Trello. We realized that, there's no need to actually be in the same room. We can work on projects. We can make accomplishments. We can actually succeed on ideas just through the internet. And then the third phase came in, and that was the most recent transformation, where you realize, wow, now that you're good at remote working, everything in the world is possible. Like, really, it becomes really exciting. Like before, if I gave a talk in Jakarta, I would have to fly to Depok the night before, and then I would stay in a hotel, and then I would catch like a Gojek or a Go Ride early in the morning, and it was 2 days just to give a talk. And now, after we give a talk, we can just go back and attend another meeting here in Bali, or go to the beach right afterwards, or whatever we want. So that's one possibility now that's really exciting from remote work, which is not just this idea that, okay, I have to do it. It's like, it really enables me to work from anywhere. And why do I need to be in the same room as somebody else? And can I get more accomplished? In addition, the third phase of the transformation allows us to now hire people from anywhere in the world. Before, it was just kind of a fantasy to say, hey, yeah, Bukit Vista, if we could get people working in different parts of the world, that'd be good. I mean, that'd be nice. But now it's actually happened in a really short amount of time as well. We went from being kind of a domestic company to being an international company as far as our employees are, as far as where we're receiving internships, within the span of 2 months by adopting remote work culture. So what I'm saying at the end is I think remote work culture is a transformation, but it is entirely really good transformation. I was I'm a little bit older than I was when I was 20, but I think that is probably the most powerful transformation in my 30s at least, right? Like to really think about how to create a company that can be run entirely on the internet and effectively on the internet and in some ways even better through remote work culture. And so that I hope can be an inspiration to not just people who are looking for work, but people who are thinking of making a job for somebody else, even like starting their own companies, that if you do get this part right, you have a better company than if you had a company that didn't have that kind of structure, didn't have that capability. You can project farther, you can work from anywhere you want. You just are way more powerful if you have a strong remote work culture. And that is pretty amazing. So those are my thoughts on how this reflects. And as you can see with my team, on Ara, with Cynthia, it's fun too as well to like develop these capabilities and these new ways to integrate it into existing workflows. It's an enjoyable process.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's very insightful as well. So, okay, here, talking about what is strong remote working culture, I think I will ask Mr. Christian. So, Mr. Christian, you have worked at Cloudbeds for years, and then it's remote working. So maybe I'd like to know about, maybe it's kind of like a recheck, because also Mr. Jing mentioned about documentation, over communication, and I saw you note a lot. So maybe in your side, in your opinion, and in your company, what is a strong remote working culture itself? And then do you also do the same thing like Mr. Ching and or we are in Bukit Vista do, or maybe, yeah, what kind of remote working in Cloudbeds?
Yes, okay. So I think Mr. Jing also already put it out, and also Ara earlier has really explained it beautifully as well. I think on my side or in my own experience, I mean, obviously I did not create this culture. This was made by our founders, by our CEOs, but it has developed over time. It has always transformed over time. And we, for example, myself as an employee that has entered the company, and anyone that has entered to any company will have its own impact towards the culture itself. Because again, the culture is always changing, especially in this case where this sort of business or operations or companies really rely on technology, right? So as technology changes, also a lot of the things in the culture will also follow by. So I think, speaking for Cloudbeds, what also the founders are always saying is that Cloudbeds has always tried to focus on a more people-centric culture. So it's based on personal connection. And I think that's also one of the biggest challenges that you could face in a remote culture, is that how do we connect with people that are hundreds of miles away, right? Well, the answer is in the tools, practically, right? The tools that we use in this sort of situation. Zoom. I think I'm going to go into, we'll be able to show you guys a little bit about some of the tools that we use later on, but Zoom is definitely one of them. Slack is definitely one of them. And also other more specific, tailored towards different purposes, right? And I think in order to have this people-centric culture, what we do on our end is we ensure constant communication. That's number one. Constant communication is very, very important, especially across cultures. Again, like Mr. Jing said, we really need to understand how we communicate and like is the message getting through correctly? How do you understand what I tell you and so forth? You know, things like that. And also the second part that is also very important is having clear and transparent goals, right? So what I mean by that, every department has its own function. If you look at an organization, every department has its own function, and each of these functions or purposes are measured in metrics. It's always measured. I think that's the key word, measurement and metrics, right? So we use tools that can measure this accountability of each individual within the company. So, and that's also part of the culture. In order to achieve that sort of goal, I think company's job is always to try and find the right people for that, you know, and that also is also a big part of, I think, Ara's department is to filter out the right people, right? Are they able to be disciplined? Oh, that's another key word, discipline, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, be knowing what you need to do, what your metrics are, but just be disciplined and self-motivated enough to do these things in a remote, because no one's, your boss is not there like in the other cubicle watching over you right now, and you know, are you doing your job properly? No. At the end of the day, it's the results that speak out. What is it that you have achieved, and what activities have you done to try and achieve, even if it's not achievable, maybe in like a certain deadline. Maybe there's some things that go in the way, but you have to show that you have done effort, you know, and that effort has to be measurable. So that's one of the big things that also we as a company here emphasize on culturally. You know, I mean, speaking for myself, when I entered Cloudbeds, it was a very long and grueling process. It took me like, oh, it took me months. Well, 2 months. That was 2 months actually, and like 8 interviews, different layers of interviews. And the first interview that I went to was a video interview, which was one way. I didn't speak to any living person. It was basically a video talking to me, and I was supposed to answer in 30 seconds questions. The point of that process was to see how I would react or how I would behave in front of a video camera. How do you conduct yourself? How do you conduct yourself when you're talking to your computer, right? So one of the procedures that we had was that, and which was pretty interesting. And you know, in the end, it makes sense to see how they would filter people characteristics just like that. So yes, culture is very important within a remote company. Of course, there are perks to that also. There are a lot of perks involved in working remotely. I think one very obvious perk is that you can be at home, you can be with your family, you can sort of you're here, you're basically, you're not commuting, you know, you're not commuting, you're not wasting time on the roads. I think Mr. Jing also explained a little bit about that earlier, so that was really good as well. But yeah, that's basically, I think, how we do it. Also, another thing, what I would say people would be thinking about is probably how do you have a good relationship between you and your peers or your work colleagues within a remote setting, right? So this is also very applicable to anyone that's doing remote culture. Is using Zoom just like this, we can create special rooms that are not related to work. So for example, you have your happy hangout hour, or you can create like a cat owners club meeting, right? Where you can hang out with your cats, with your pets, with other cat owners in the company and talk about the cats, or just sit there and watch the cats. It's everything that you can do in real life, except of course touching each other physically, you can practically do in front of a video camera or in front of a laptop, whatever you use. So I think yeah, those things really also help with the bonding or team bonding, team spirit between everyone within the company as well. But of course, in order for us to kind of be successful in this sort of setting, again, strong Wi-Fi is really needed. I'm not saying anything, Mr. Jing. I know sometimes we can't help.
I put in a backup computer today. Now I have a second computer just in case the Wi-Fi cuts out.
I know. It happens to me too. It happens to everyone. We can't help it sometimes when the internet. Yeah, I understand completely. But yeah, that's one of the most important factors. I think, the right equipment. Obviously now everyone is using the right equipment. Laptops, phones. Being in a conference also, it's a good idea to have like your headsets, your microphones and so forth. So I think it's really practical. You can even take your office outside your home. You can work anywhere. So yeah, it's. I mean, me personally, I enjoy the time. I enjoy this sort of environment, and I don't think I can go back to the traditional sort of office space sort of lifestyle or work style. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I think you covered it all of the networking.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. That's really great actually, because like you already told about it clearly. But for everyone here, I think they already get it. What is remote working culture as well? So talking about the happy hour, we do have it, right, Miss Ara, in Bukit Vista, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's your innovation. You can maybe spill it out about it more, and then I think yeah, there's people that waiting about the internship here, and then like Mr. Jing has told us before, Mr. Jing told us that there are a lot of people coming from, and then even it's from the abroad. So they are intern in Bukit Vista. So maybe everyone here is waiting for that. So yeah, maybe you can talk about your innovation first, about the happy hour briefly, but after that, you can come to the intern things. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. So regarding innovations itself, it's not just limited for some certain tools or some certain, for example, channels for communication channel and things like that. Yes, part of the things that changed in the company previously, we're actually using WhatsApp for communication channels across the entire company. And then we talked with actually Christians, and Christians was sharing his tools on working and everything, and mentioned about Slack. So now that they're part of the new transformations in the company and new innovations that we're using the Slack itself. Another thing is that other than just tools, innovation is also on the area of engagement itself. So as again, HR is like HR is an art of managing people in the company, the team itself, to nurture people. So then in that sense, I am thinking to actually what type of happy hour exactly that can make people interested to come, and then to actually gain a better engagement within one another, as it is part of one of the most important things right now as we're remotely working. So at first, as a part of the remote working culture, I rolled out the first happy hour by myself for several weeks actually. So I created happy hour, like if you guys knows about Mr. White type of games, things like that, we rolled out on Zoom, and then it would be as simple as even playing roles, like I asked people in the company to dress up like Halloween, but then we are going to have a meetings on Zoom, so people are dressing up with their own costumes and just simply make others guess about who am I. So that's turned out to be a very exciting thing. But then I know that I can actually do better than that. Rather than just like part of HR that is actually rolling out that happy hour, I decided to actually increase the engagement by actually put people together across the company to roll out their own happy hour. So then everybody can experience on actually how to become a host. And that's actually better also, actually have a better engagement within one another. Because a lot of time, as we know, when we're having like remote working, it's always been limited to just like communications with the colleague just before working related, right? Like I barely talked about Cynthia's about what is she having for breakfast, or where did Mr. Jing go yesterday on the weekend, so things like that. So then happy hours actually to be more engaged within one another's, especially from people that is coming from a different divisions, different chapters. So yes, I have this rolling out sessions for everyone from different chapters to pair them up and roll out and host a happy hour sessions. Another part is that I think this is, I'll talk a little bit more about the innovations that I actually roll out more in this remote working culture, is that one-on-one sessions. So previously, yes, we do have one-on-one sessions, but it is very, depends on what case. So it's very rare, I would say, that we have that. But turned out that in this pandemic, I believe that it is something that is really necessary to do between me and whoever that needs one-on-one. So one-on-one session means that I am going to have a discussions or conversations related to work or anything that a human resource can help to actually help people growing and things in Bukit Vista. So previously, maybe like I have just like, depends if there's a case, if there's a problem, then I'm going to roll it out. But now, no, it's I have it like regularly to have like exactly as Mr. Christians mentioned, constant communications is very important. So in that part, I am engaged with each one of the team members of Bukit Vista by having one-on-one. And one-on-one is not always have to be something sophisticated. It can be as simple as that. How is your work? How is your projects? How do you feel right now? And then in what area exactly that you think I can help you with? So solving the problems together will actually make people feel more engaged, more involved in any way. So it will make at some point feels the sense of togetherness on doing the works and projects itself. So that's about the innovations, I think. So for another things is lunch hour, as I stated before. We used to have like both in Bali and in Jogja, we really love to actually have lunch together in the dining room. So I even like personally in Jogja, because I'm in Jogja currently, I always have these rules that guys, lunch hour, drop the work. So everybody just gather together to talk about what's up. But again, we're no longer having that for the current situations. So that opening up a channels, simply just while you're eating, you can talk. So just like, you know, again, like Cynthia mentioned, maybe you guys that is having a long distance relationships must be already doing that and experience with that. So yes, that's one of the things. And then answering a little bit more about the how exactly internships program right now, that is especially with both students nationally, like in Indonesia, and also students abroad. Well, yes, that's actually very challenging for me, because we rarely have like hired foreigners. We did previously, but it's just like one or two. But for now, as one of the projects of human resource is actually creating a team culture. What exactly a team culture means is that we want to hire the best person that is passionate most about what we're supporting, about our vision and missions, to inspire, delight everyone, everywhere, every time. So in that particular things, then our HR team is actually, our HR team is actually having a networks actually with across university across the globe. And that's actually we're starting to hire people from best university in the world. So currently that I can say that we're hiring people, some students from NTU, Nanyang Technology University in Singapore. There's also students from Utrecht University in Netherlands. And most likely we're going to keep on hiring from, maybe later on, our bigger goal is having students from Harvard and Oxford and any other university across the globe. So the challenge in here is actually, can you guys imagine if I have like the entire company working together with students that is from Netherlands, let's say, they have a very weird odd times because we have different time zones, right? And that could be one of the obstacles of actually working together. So then I tried to think on how could this actually possibly work, as in we're having strange and different time zone. So in that particular part so far that we've been doing is that we're having 3 different phases so far, like the selection process, and then the trial program. If you guys pass interviews, CV screenings, and the online assessment, then there will be part in the 6 days of trials, and then onboarding program. So for the interviews, we have like a lot of time, so they just book the times that suits them on when exactly would like to have interviews, or the giving deadlines for online assessment. And then from that, there will be a 6 days of trial program. So this phase of hiring is actually pretty crucial for everyone in the world. So usually, like I've already done the beginning that for specifically trial program, because it's always roll out the programs in cohort. So I would probably always say next time, maybe like in your trials, you have to with the time of Bali time, Indonesia time. So, but that's strictly for trials program. And later on, after they're doing the trials, which is 6 days, they're passed through the trials and boarded in onboarding program. Most were like projects based. So what we've been doing for studies in Netherlands and in Singapore is projects together. That is, we have meetings, certain meetings that is mandatory to be attended by the students. But other than that, I think it's more on projects. So like, how does that even work? Maybe wondering, right? Like, okay, so if like not having constant daily meetings and things like that, how can you actually have like align within one another? So it is also already highlighted by since that it is important in the clear enough on what exactly the vision mission is, exactly that is the project trying to achieve within the team. I believe that certain goals, and then supported by actually having the constant communications via we usually use Trello board. So like Slack or Trello, anytime that you're going to use, we can actually combine that to have like a clear missions, and people can actually do with high autonomy. So in that sense, keep everything. I would say that what exactly that I always suggested to students across the globe is that keep everything well documented. If you're keep documented, we can actually track whatever that we've already been did, and then like what are the progress exactly is the growth. So those type of things is obstacles in the beginning, but I think it's really well for now, because people already get the sense on how to work it well with the teams, and they're just attending some certain meetings weekly or maybe once or twice in a week. And yes, I think that's pretty much about the onboarding program.
Wow, that's very complex, and then I think that's very packed, Miss Ara. Thank you so much for explaining us about the internship program, then about approach students that are already having an internship here. Okay, so I think, Mr. Yang, I think there's a lot of people here is like wondering, and then they start talking about what is kind of tools that Bukit Vista is using here to remote working. Would you please like show it to us, maybe like for all the what kind of tools that you have mentioned before, and then also Ara have mentioned. So maybe they will more feel exciting, and maybe they will know about that kind of tools.
I'll be very happy to do that, Cynthia. So the very first tool is not even like an online tool. I use a standing table.
Yep.
So that's one of my favorite. This is actually a little bit.
Sir, would you please share your screen?
Sure. I'll go into the part in a second, but it's about the standing table. So I think one of the things actually when you have remote work is you should set up an ergonomic setup so that you are comfortable. Remember, when you're in the office, a lot of things, a lot of furniture, whatever, these are provided by your employer. But when you are working remotely, it's helpful to have a good setup. So I'll explain a little bit what my setup looks like right now. I have 2 machines. I'm going to try to sort of record video. Okay, so I'm on 2 screens right now, I think, right? And I'm going to remove my virtual background. Okay, so you can see like sort of what the office looks like. Okay, all right, can everyone see that? Okay, this is what my setup looks like right now. Setup is actually pretty good, I think, for remote working or for any working. But an external monitor, and what this allows me to do is to have a little bit more screen space. And I've elevated it using a very nice French cookbook, which gives the screen height a little bit of distance. So it's a little bit more level with my face. This is the machine that I work. I'm on a MacBook 16-inch. It's a 15-inch. Sorry, it's a 15-inch MacBook Pro, and it's also elevated, as you can see from the side. I don't know if you can see that, but let me put the camera down. Okay, all right. So it's on an elevated stand, and that also helps a bit with working as well. Why is this important? It is a tool, and it's, I think, one of the first tools that we should get right in the physical space, so that we have comfortable shoulders, necks, and posture, and you won't be like hunched over and not in good shape after 10 years of working from home. So I think that's one. Two design tools that I have. So I'll open up my desktop and see if I can screen share. Oh, weird. I might not be able to screen share from this side. Give me a second. That's why I brought two computers. Okay, so let me see if I can share my screen over on this side. Okay, all right. Let's go into it. Okay, so for here, I'll share like what is happening inside Bukit Vista on my other laptop. One of the first things that is really good is you need to have a document, I think, to sort of keep track of everything, right? So one document at Bukit Vista, that's the all hands document. Once a week, everybody at Bukit Vista gets together for an all hands meeting. We typically use Google Hangouts actually for leading conferencing, video conferencing software. So we share this document, and it's a collaboration document. Everybody can write into it. So anyway, we go over essentially the highlights of the week. If we've done some professional networking, then we'll talk about who was there, and we'll give a weekly update. I will, as a CEO, talk about important topics that I believe apply to the entire company on the principal section, and then we'll talk about the theme of the month. We'll reiterate our goals. We'll define what each chapter at Bukit Vista does. And so this part is where I'll drill in a little bit more. Earlier, Ara mentioned this idea of A-team culture, and that fits into the mission of what the HR team is slating to do at Bukit Vista. So what they're looking to do is they're looking to create the greatest professional network for hospitality innovation, and also to build innovation culture that leads the global hospitality industry. This is referring to Christian about what is our goal. We need to have a goal because we're going to give people a lot of autonomy when they work remotely. So without that autonomy, then you need constant supervision, you need constant management, and that wouldn't be possible if we were working remotely effectively. So we need to set a goal. So we have that goal, and we have essentially then other supporting documents to support that goal. Okay, so this is kind of the structure of the company, but what does it look like if you drill down a little bit more? When we have a team together, what we do is we look at projects. Projects are what define us at Bukit Vista. So how do we organize projects? Well, projects are actually pretty interesting type of work. It goes back to the very first beginnings of a mission. This idea of mission creates inspiration, and it creates the fuel for us to imagine what new projects we want to focus on. So we have the chapter mission. The HR chapter mission, we stated what we have seen previously: professional network of hospitality innovators, and also to build innovation culture for leading the global hospitality industry. That's clear. Once we have a mission, we move quickly over to initiatives. These are plans. These are ideas. These are ways that we are going to execute. If we want to actually grow our professional network, we should probably deepen the talent pool. So we create an initiative around that. We should probably also work on leading our company to use the best tools and the most efficient processes. Network, We can think about all these different initiatives. So these are plans. And then plans don't get very far until we problem solve, until we schedule, until we execute. So then we then divide up work according to each person at the company. We have Kiki, who is an intern, who has joined us for the past 3 months, coming from UGM. She's working on her ideas. And one of her ideas, Kiki, this is to you, was to have this webinar that we're having today. And so we're celebrating the project by actually doing it. And then you're seeing behind the scenes of how actually we deliver this project. So we wanted to have an intended outcome. Kiki was working on the team, so she's right here. She's assigned to it. And this is great. Now Kiki's this project, and every time there is an update on this project, we write it here in the activity section, right down here. So when we write on the activity section, Kiki and whoever else is included in this project will actually see a notification. And where do we find that notification? On this side of Trello, right here where there's a little bell. So this notification then feeds in to whoever is on a particular project, and they can see the updates there. So this is actually a really cool way to make sure that everything stays organized. It's a really cool way to also make sure that we communicate with context. One of the things that Ara was talking about previously that was a big problem here at Bukit Vista was we were using WhatsApp. We were using WhatsApp groups to handle everything. We're using WhatsApp groups to take care of guest reservations, WhatsApp groups to take care of projects. And the problem with using WhatsApp is that WhatsApp is not a contextual communication device. If somebody says, hey, did you solve it yet? You would say, solve what? Is it finished yet? What is finished? Because it lacks context. It lacks all the material around what you mean by that message. So part of using Trello was to solve a basic problem. How can you have more high context communication? How can you have more high context communication culture? And so this is a tool that streamlines the entire process very, very well. The other thing that you can see is that we can plan events. We had a backyard Bukit Vista event the other day, and this was well done. And we can set a deadline for the project. We can even time the project over here. So overall, this is a very powerful tool. This is a tool that we use to organize human resource culture, and this is how we design and intentionally progress and make our company more people-centric. Something that Christian was mentioning earlier is very, very important for remote management. But in addition to human resources, all our other chapters, they're known as departments in other companies, are organized similarly around projects. This is the marketing chapter, and this shows the projects that they're working on currently. They have a slightly different way of organizing it, but it's still the same things underlying. And as we evolve as a company, we start innovating different things. We innovate different projects, but we also innovate the very nature by which projects are being led. I'll give you an example of how that is being done here too. So, for example, when we noticed that we were facing a crisis in our projects, which was our projects aren't being well defined. We're not using the correct way of visioning the project. And this is very common when you start remote work. It's like when you're next to somebody, you can constantly ask them, so what did you mean by that? What is the intended purpose? When you go to remote working culture, most of it will need to be written down. You'll be relying a lot on written communication to get that idea crystal clear. So one of the things that we thought was, all right, we probably need to start working on better cards. So let me go through and show you kind of like how I would find a card. This is actually pretty cool. So I can go over to this section over here on the menu, and I have a team of currently 4 or 5 people who are working in marketing. So I want to find Rizal. Rizal is one of the guys who's working on our ads, and I want to find his cards. So I can go over here, I can set a filter button, and I can go and I can filter out for Rizal's cards. Boom, right there. So I've reduced the amount of noise in the system, and I can focus now. And that is the benefit of a tool. If I spend all my time looking for cards belonging to a certain person, that's not a good use of my time. But I have this tool, and I can zoom in an instant. So I can take a look at his cards, and I can see, okay, Rizal's doing his work. This is pretty cool. But Rizal's also made some new innovations here. He's actually discovered that defining the problem well is actually a really good part of good project management. So he's added a checklist. He's added a checklist to double check to make sure his thought process is clear before he goes attempts to execute a project. So once again, this is a great innovation. Where did we come up with this idea of coming up with a checklist, defining a problem? Well, we came up with this idea through a program we now call Startup Masterclass. What is Startup Masterclass? Well, we know that we don't know everything here. We try, but we'll still, it's faster to learn from people who are experts. Christian was our expert back in November, and we're able to get to the speed of where we are now because of his mentorship, his guidance. And so we started a program where we are seeking now guidance from everybody around the world. We're able to do this because we know how remote work culture works. We're able to take on the right thing. And these are some of the previous people who have spoken at our Startup Masterclass. We get people who started HR programs at companies like Airbnb, like at Uber, like global programs that have a lot of reach and are facing very difficult challenges. We talk about data science with the best data scientists in the world. We talk about customer service with leading customer leads in the world. We talk about search engine optimization with people with proven achievements in SEO. We talk about community management from people that have led communities. We talk about leadership from scholars at Ivy League universities. So that is also part of how behind the scenes at Bukit Vista we get information to help us lead. In addition to all this great leadership and knowledge, we rely a lot on data to make decisions here too as well. So this is a behind the scenes look at our data panel. What you're seeing here is the data that Bukit Vista uses and is available to all employees in the company to see what is going on inside the company. These graphs allow us to track things like the booking pace, which represents how many bookings we get every day. And it allows any person who is using this tool to go back into history and see what was happening 30 days ago, what was happening 130 days ago, what was happening 230 days ago in the company. We can see and understand knowledge. We can get insights. We can see exactly when the coronavirus hit and made an impact on our business, as you can see the falling bookings here. That's not a very proud statistic, but at least I think it allows anybody in the company to have a clear, transparent idea about what we're doing and if the work that they're doing is making impact. We have a lot of other tools too as well. We have things related to calendar management. We use Google Calendar to schedule meetings and schedule time to speak to our colleagues. This is my Google Calendar today. As you can see, I have I'm right here right now at PVE Talk. But once again, as I spoke about earlier, the greatest thing is right after this e-talk, I can go into another meeting without having to fly across the country, which is, I think, a pretty cool capability. And as we do more scheduling, we start realizing that there is even tools to help us schedule, like Calendly. Calendly is a calendar management program, and it allows anybody to be my guest. I need to log in, but it allows anybody to be my guest, and they can look at my calendar and find a slot that suits them, and it makes this whole process of scheduling a meeting super, super duper easy. So with the right tools, I think the right approach to remote working, you can start finding that it is even simpler and more effective, and it can be even more personable and more engaging than traditional work in the office. So that's a little bit behind the scenes on my side. Okay, that's it.
Wow, thank you, sir. I think you have introduced all of our tools, and maybe since we are almost run out of a time, I think I will jump into a question and answer session. So here is it. We have several questions and that already come to us. So maybe I will help to share the screen. Yep, here is it. So, okay, we'll start from the very brief, very top question, but I think this will already explained in the during the talk, and then you will get the email, and then in that email for all of the participants here, you can get more information about the internship. So I think for that kind of internship question, I will skip it, and then no worries, because after this you will get email, and then you can get all of the information about the internship there. Okay, so this is really basic. Like, what major you guys consider more to have an internship at Bukit Vista? Maybe I will give it to Ara. Ara, would you please answer this question?
Okay, so I can answer a couple of questions that we asked about internship program. So we're currently open and hiring for those actually that is exists in Bukit Vista. So in that sense, yes, we do consider actually about the education background. For example, if we're looking for accounting, then we're going to be considered people that is like, and then if we're considered to actually hiring for specifically in data science, then the computer science, that is going to be primarily considered. But it's not limited to just that, because we believe that each person has time. So we believe that as long as a person have a growth mindset, bias to action, and a self-learner type of persons, we believe that this person will be worth it to actually graduate as a interns here in Bukit Vista.
Okay, cool. That's cool, Miss Ara. So, yeah, thank you for answering the question. I think I will move the next question. Okay, I think the second question that has a lot of votes here is what learning experience we could hold in Bukit Vista, what challenge we should face in Bukit Vista. Oh, I think this is a challenger. The voice they ask is he loves challenge. So maybe Mr. Jing, please, would you please help to answer this question?
Certainly, I'd be happy to. So I think the learning experience is one of self-growth and transformation. We do a very, I would say, exhaustive process in selecting the right candidates for our programs. But for I think people who really want to, if you want to be really good at doing something that you never thought you could do, this is actually a really good place to do it. And the reason why is because we select, and through the selection process, I think we are training people how to be more autonomous. We're training our interns how to develop remote work skills, how to manage projects, how to set goals. And I think the most interesting or the most different thing that Bukit Vista does is we make people more ready for entrepreneurship. We make it so that if you complete an internship here, I think you would actually be a pretty good mindset for becoming your own entrepreneur. And I've seen that historically happen so many times, where I believe you'll find ways of working with different people, collaborating. You'll find tools. You'll discover things that will simplify your work. You'll find a way to organize projects that are uplifting, and you might find connections to people that you might fall in love here too. That's happened a few times as well, right? So that could be a learning experience as well. But whatever it is, I think you'll be transformed. That is pretty much so. Everybody who works here, because the company is changing so quickly, that sort of creates that growth pattern that is so common to see. So what kind of challenge? All kinds of challenges, I think. Some of the most tangible challenges are finding somebody to book during the middle of the pipeline. That's a challenge. Designing a product that will be interesting for, let's say, a large property developer anywhere in the world to use. Another challenge could be how to develop a good internship program for interns. The interns that we have right now are developing those type of programs. So I think there's going to be a lot, and our mission is, like Ara has repeated, it's inspired delight to everyone, every time, everywhere. So that's and there's a lot of work that can be done to pursue that vision.
Okay, cool. So for you guys who want to transform yourself, maybe after this, you can know more and get more information about the internship in Bukit Vista from the email that we will send to you. Okay, one more question, and I will take it from Hadi. Is Hadi here? Hello? Is Hadi still here? I think he's not here because I will give it to him directly, so you can ask. But it's okay. I will ask this question to you. Okay, so what are the fields of internship program which Bukit Vista is offering to students? Is there any specific qualification for appliers? So please, Miss Ara, you are as HR here, you can answer it.
Okay, so for more details, if I think we'll forgetting anyway. So for open for any positions that is available in the company right now, as in human resource, as in customer support, or anything like marketing, content creator, digital data science, revenue management, details on what are the job description and everything, you guys can actually visit our website. You can go to bukitVista.com/jobs. So everything is already stated there. And then if Hadi is asking about, is there any specific qualifications for applier? So as I stated before, very key point that is Bukit Vista always trying to look up from a candidate is that they actually have one, growth mindset. So growth mindset is somebody that is actually eager to always adding up value and grow, become a better version of themselves every single day, and believe that they can actually excel themselves today. That's a growth mindset. Another part is that bias to actions. Bias to action is that a person that is actually a go-getter. So instead of like keep on observing, thinking, you're actually a doers, also like have eager to actually do things, execute things very well. And then the last point is learn. If a person have high eagerness of learning to actually develop themselves, that is actually one of the most important qualifications as an interns here in Bukit Vista. So yeah, back to you, Miss Cynthia.
Okay, thank you, Miss Ara. So, you guys, you can access our website for bukitvista.com, so you can find it, all of the information about us, about the jobs, about the opportunities that you can find in Bukit Vista, and maybe in several days, you can be part of us. And then, okay, I just saw a question. It's just coming up, but I think it's an interesting one since Jing also mentioned about leadership things. Okay, this is for Anonymous. Hi, I want to ask if you guys have a leadership program too, or is it just internship? Okay, I think you can please help to answer this one, Mr. Jing.
Okay, thank you very much for that question, whoever asked it. In fact, we do. We recently noticed that there was a good opportunity to develop leaders inside the company. So I currently do that 5 times a week. So we do on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we talk about leadership and mentorship and how to actually develop a effective team, how to lead. And I find this very fascinating. And I myself, I go and seek advice from, like just this morning, we did a professional networking session with a gentleman named Fabrizio. And Fabrizio was leading leadership development at Uber, which was kind of once upon a time was here in Indonesia, but no longer. And previously, we've been getting coached from other leaders about how to. So we sort of bring people to the source, right? If you want to learn about leadership development, come with us and we will find, we can teach some things that we know ourselves, but we also seek for people who know more and who are more experts and more, let's say, developed on this particular pathway. So that's 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but you got to wake up a little bit earlier. It's at 9 o'clock. So I know that's probably a normal working time, but sometimes remote companies can start a little bit later, right? So that's our Monday, Wednesday, Friday program. And then on Tuesday, Thursday, we have project management, which is another leadership class that we do regularly. And this is also more specifically on how to manage projects. The other thing that we do is that we don't stop. So projects are just I think they're they're one of the things that is produced from an innovation culture. We did the Startup Masterclass, which is this really cool thing where we ask people who are experts to come and they speak with us, and we bring all our interns that are interested in coming. Some of them are very early. That sometimes is even earlier. It's at 7 a.m., sometimes at 7 p.m. because of the different time zones. But we're able to really learn leadership from the best sources that way. So I do see that, and most recently in a company survey, I remember seeing leadership development was one of the most appreciated programs that we had here. So it's all, yeah, I'd say this is a good place to learn for leadership.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer as well. So maybe one last question, if you don't mind. I think there is someone that inspired about you. So he or she definitely asked and pointed to you like, searching, I want to become more like you. So you have a new fans here, sir. Should I start with where should I start with? And then so he or she could find his successful encounter early.
Okay, all right, thank you. It's very flattering, and thank you for whoever said that. If there was one word I would say, it's probably, and I know we're probably going to get to this section later, but I would say be curious. Be curious. If you stay curious, I think you always allow for the maximum opportunity to grow, the maximum opportunity to become a person where you go, oh wow, I'm a completely different person 10 years ago, and I like it, yeah? So I think that's one of the really choice bits of wisdom my mentors have passed to me about being curious. And I think it starts with that. It starts with, when somebody says something that makes you feel happy, or it makes you feel sad, are you curious about why they said it? Are you curious about what it actually means? Staying curious and being like really inquisitive I think it's the primary drive that sort of got me to where I am here. I was curious about Indonesia, so I came to visit. Then I was curious about, luxury real estate. So then I was curious about, so that, and I'm still curious. I'm curious about like remote work culture, right? And although I'm here to I guess talk about it, I'm also here to learn too as well. I'm here to see what people feel about it. I'm here to so staying curious, I think is if I can inspire you, stay curious always.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. That's I hope that answer the question. And then well, I think we're almost run out of time, and for the conclusion to close this session, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for everyone who's still here. Thank you everyone who still stand with us. I hope all of the things that we say here, all of the things that we give you here today, it give you more insight here. And then to close this session, I think I'd like to back to Christian. Christian, sorry to wait you for long. So I think you have your break already. Okay. This is the things that I curious about you. So to give everyone here, to inspire everyone here, would you please maybe share your quotation, your motivation thing, so for everyone, and then who's still looking for a job, maybe, or maybe like start looking for the new job, could be inspired by you.
Of course. I mean, it's something I would say very similar actually to what Mr. Jing would just said, because ultimately it's about your own curiosity. It's your own it's to have faith in yourself and what it is that you're most interested in. Don't stop. But to put it in a more, I guess I'm quoting also from my company, which is a quote that I really like as well personally, because this company that I'm working for now, Cloudbeds, being a remote company, also kind of emphasizes or kind of inspires its own employees to travel around the world, right? So I think that is also one of the many things that everyone here would also like to do one day, right? Travel over the world, being able to experience different cultures, and that's where you can sort of gain inspiration or knowledge or insight from all these different things that you see all around the world. So being open also is part of it. But the actual quote for that is never stop wondering. And actually, it's pretty funny. Let me show you. Let me share my screen to show you what I mean with that. So if you look at our website, sorry about my lighting. It seems like the sun is like facing my way now. But this is what this is on our website. So what I mean by never stop wondering is this phrase right here. Hold on. I hope you guys can see it. Here. Never stop wandering. So it's not just wandering, but it's wandering. So you're actually traveling, physically traveling, right? Don't stop doing that. And also never stop wondering in your head about new and different things. So I think this is a very sort of funny and quirky quote as well, but it's definitely worth thinking about and also doing or pursuing. So yeah, I think that's what I could share with you guys.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Christian. That was so beautiful, actually. So, yep, I will go to next to Miss Ara. Miss Ara, would you please share your favorite quotes here?
Okay, so interesting part. So we all know that we always facing problems in life, and my parents actually raised me in a way that he kept on challenging me relentlessly all the time. And I used to feel satisfied enough every time I accomplished the challenge that they give me. But then my dad once told me that do not fall in love with the solutions, but fall in love with the problems. That way, I believe that it will keep us in peace dealing with problems that we will always facing for the rest of our lives, and will make us actually constantly growing. So yeah, that's actually could hopefully inspire you guys to keep on grow yourself by fall in love with the problem itself. Thank you.
Cool. What a word, fall in love with problem. That's a very beautiful, Miss Ara. Okay, and then the last for you, sir, to close this session, I think we want to know, because you already have a fans here, I think you can make your fans happy here. What kind of things, what kind of quotes you want to tell us?
Sure. Thank you, Cynthia. So I think if there's one more thing I'd like to say, I would like to actually tell a story, right? And this is actually a story I heard when it's actually part of a Chinese allegory. And I heard this when my dad told me this, actually, same as Ara, when I was younger. And it's related to this idea that it's related both to travel and to wandering and to sort of taking this approach towards an open mind towards problems. So the story begins, there's this old man and he loses his prized horse. So his horse runs away. The people in the village get together and they say, what a misfortune, you've lost your horse. So the old man says, I really don't know about that. I will have to see what happens next. And then what happens next is that the horse brings back a huge tribe of other horses. So this guy is rich now. He has like 58 horses. He has like this whole herd of horses. He's very happy. And his neighbors come and they celebrate. They say, hey, look, you're doing so well. You're a rich man now. And he says this very same thing. I don't know. I'll have to see about that, right? And then the next stage is another misfortune, and it happens when his oldest son is training the horses and he falls off a horse and breaks his leg. And now everybody in the village, they say again, hey, look, that's such a misfortune. What happened to you here? This is a terrible thing. Now when you get old, you won't have a son to care for you. You're going to have to care for your son. And so he says the very same thing. I don't know. I'll have to see about that, right? And then eventually a war comes, and they recruit all the men to fight in the war except his son. And I think the moral of the story is this: that when you're young, you're just kind of out of college and you're coming into like a really bad economy, and you're like, what am I going to do, right? It's really just the first link, I think. And there's going to be another link that's built because your first link was challenging. And then there's going to be another link after that. And there's going to be another link. So I think as long as you can see that earlier and realize that, I like the word that Christian used there. It was faith, right? And I like the word that Ara used. It's like falling in love with the problem. As long as you have faith that the problems won't kill you, then that is how you'll transform. That's how you'll be more suitable for the future world. And the future is in your hands, after all. So hopefully that can inspire people.
Wow, thank you, sir, and thank you for everyone, for Christian and also Miss Ara Fani, who share their beautiful thought and also who share their opinion and then their journey about the remote working itself. So I think since it's 2 minutes left, so guys, here I send you on the chat box, there is a link that you can give us your feedback, maybe the things that we can improve in the future for our webinar, for our BVE talk. So yeah, we can give what you really expect about us. But for today's, I do really thank you for you guys. Thank you for still staying here. Thank you for still interest here. Oh, well, this actually, well, it's a great opportunity. Thank you to UI as well, to CDC UI, to Ibu Vika, to Mbak Dira, who have give us this space, who have us this platform to share with everyone in UI. And then I hope in the future, there will be a lot of students from UI that interest to join with us, and we're very welcome to them, and then we're waiting to them because we believe that as a global university standard, I think they can have requirements that match our standard in Bukit Vista as well. So, yep, regarding a lot of questions that maybe hasn't been answered here, no worries, because I have told you guys, we will send you like a follow-up email. So in there, you can find out more about internship in Bukit Vista, and then you can find more contact to them, and then you can ask directly to Bukit Vista as well. So here is it. Yeah. Oh wow, such a nice afternoon to having you guys here. Thank you, Mbak Dira, for providing this. Thank you, Ibu Vika. Then maybe before I really close this one, is there anything that from UI want to give us feedback, or maybe want to say one or two words?
Terima kasih Mbak Cynthia. Sangat bagus sekali ya presentasi dari Mr. Jing, Mbak Ara, dan Mas Christian. Semoga kerjasama ini akan terus berlanjut ya Mbak Cynthia dengan Bukit Vista, dengan webinar-webinar yang lainnya juga, dengan tema-tema yang mungkin lebih bagus lagi. Nanti kita akan buat lagi kerjasama untuk webinar ini. Terima kasih semua untuk partisipan dengan antusiasnya. Mudah-mudahan dengan adanya Bukit Vista webinar ini bisa bermanfaat buat kalian untuk internship dan berkarir di Bukit Vista. Terima kasih banyak semuanya.
Oke, baik. Jadi terima kasih Mbak Dira.
Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih untuk speakers kita, Mas Christian. Terima kasih untuk Mbak Ara juga. Terima kasih untuk Bapak Jing. Terima kasih telah bergabung siang hari ini, dan untuk teman-teman semuanya. Semoga tetap sehat. Please stay healthy and stay safe everywhere. Wash your hand. Use your mask. Because Corona is still everywhere. Okay, so I wish you good luck in your future as well. I wish you good luck in your for your success, and then yep, I think I will close it. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Thank you guys, and
terima kasih UI.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Mr. Jing, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Yang ntar.